Welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson, and on the show we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, their parents, and of course what we know is an aging population. And we have a return guest with us today. I'm very excited about it. We're going to discuss some interesting things with the holidays approaching. And I just wanted to remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, a professional senior placement and elder care management organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for seniors in receiving proper care or even supervision. So whether it's in-home care, assisted living, residential, or memory care, get the necessary advice from a senior care advisor right in your area by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231. Or you can go to www.seniorcareauthority.com. So as I mentioned just a moment ago, we have with us Jude Bijou. Jude, welcome to the show again. Great to have you back. And
thanks, Frank.
Yeah. So Jude, of course, is a respected psychotherapist, professional educator, and workshop leader. Her theory of attitude reconstruction evolved over the course of more than 30 years working with clients as a licensed marriage and family therapist, and is the subject of her award-winning book, Attitude Reconstruction, a Blueprint for Building a Better Life. And Jude, I know we'll mention the website again, but you could certainly learn more on her website about her book and everything she does at attitudereconstruction.com. So, you know, with the holidays approaching, Jude, I know that, you know, it has a tremendous effect on so many people, especially the elderly, you know, right around the holidays. If they're not surrounded by loved ones, it kind of gets tough, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right, because we have so many associations with the holidays, and as we can't participate in the way we used to, there's just adjustments that need to be made.
Yeah. And, you know, and also on the children, whether it's the grandchildren or adult children, you know, it's possible that many are having the holiday for the first time without grandma there, without grandpa there. So family get-togethers can be difficult. So, you know, tell us some of your thoughts on this and how people should deal with this.
Well, I believe that the first thing is to keep the spirit and the goal of the holidays in mind. And that isn't to run around frantically and buy gifts and, you know, rush from one thing to another. It's about joy, love, and peace.
Right.
And we can really use that as a touchstone so that we can keep checking in with ourselves. Now, am I feeling joy when I make this offering? Or do I feel peaceful? And am I giving and doing with love? So those are the things to keep in the forefront of our mind.
Yeah. Well, what about, you know, I guess a lot of people have issues with this, and I do as well, and that is that the holidays seem to have turned into creating more financial stress on people.
Absolutely.
You know, with gifts and the pressure of getting gifts, and somebody gets you something and they spent a lot of money and you're feeling guilt or whatever the case may be. So, you know, you mentioned that it is, you know, about feeling joy, love, and peace, but is it really that simple when, as it relates to all the gift giving and the financial pressures with it?
Well, I think that it's a combination. I think we still need to participate, but we need to keep the spirit in our hearts alive. And one of the ways that we can do that is do some planning. So it's really nice. It's before Thanksgiving. And we can really lay out what our obligations are going to be between now and through the new year. And all of the obligations, make a list of like entertainment and, visiting people and gifts. But write it all out, because if not, it starts to just weigh on us. And it's like, oh, am I going to forget that? And, oh, I don't know, I don't know whether to get this person a gift, and so on. If we lay it all out, and I say get a calendar and plug in times for this date or these dates, I'm going to work on writing cards, and this I'm going to go for shopping, and so on. We then can do those activities because we've staggered them. We've made those little steps doable, so we don't get caught into the frantic pace and so on. Because I say, if we do that, if we set a budget as well, so it's both time and money, we give some forethought to, then we really can check in with our heart and go, all right, now, how much can I spend? And who do I want to give material goods to? And figure out within yourself, now this is my list, and this is how much I spend. And then we can keep focused on that, because it's not about spending and going into debt. It's about doing what is in your heart.
Right. So, I mean, I think, I've realized that as people age, they may get at times a little more anxious. They sometimes, even holidays, especially depression, can set in. So, what advice can you give to help reduce the anxiety during this period of time, or at any period of time, really?
Well, I believe, and what I've really have concluded with attitude reconstruction, is that unexpressed emotions are what drive us to act and think and speak in ways that aren't full of joy, love, and peace. And so you're talking about the emotion of fear here. When we get really anxious, we can feel that franticness in the body. And I say one of the simplest things to do is we can shake it off, like a leaf on a tree or the dog at the vet, and just stand up or sit down and, like wiggle and squiggle and make sounds like whoo, 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 and shaking it out of my hands and my legs, because what we do if we don't, that energy stays inside of us. Right. Whereas if we let our body do what it wants to do, it doesn't want to tighten up, and then we get headaches, and then we feel, just so stressed. We can really let that energy out of our body. And it sounds weird, but emotions are just emotions, energy in motion. And if we just, woo, 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 when we notice that we're feeling really anxious and feeling that fear, that jittery feeling, that will bring our attention back to the present, because that's where we want to be. So we can use our body to help to reduce that anxiety by just acknowledging and moving that energy out of the body. Or we can use our thinking and repeat something like one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Be here now. Be here now. So rather than making those lists and we're doing one activity, say we're visiting somebody in the hospital or going over to see our mother or our grandmother in an assisted care living situation, we can move that energy out of the body and go, everything will be all right. Be here now. Be here now, so that we enjoy that interaction.
Yeah, that's great advice. How do you really prepare? I guess when even shows, TV shows, books, etc., make fun of it, that during Thanksgiving there's going to be family arguments. I don't know why that is. I mean, we've had some, in my family, we've had some great Thanksgivings, but there's a lot of there's a lot of emphasis on that's a time that all of a sudden, battles begin because maybe families haven't seen each other for a while or whatever. Well, why do you think that is, and how do you prepare for that?
Well, I think that it is because we don't choose usually to be in such a concentrated environment. Maybe like it's Thanksgiving and it's the whole day or a good part of the day. And if we have an uncle or an aunt, or it could be anybody who's hard for us, maybe a teenage son or daughter who isn't quite on the program, doesn't quite have the spirit, and maybe they revert to being sullen or critical or sarcastic, instead of getting all steamed and going, they shouldn't be like that, and then, of course, that exacerbates the feeling angry and so on. We need to practice acceptance just for that day and really for every day. But we've got to accept that Uncle Jim is going to be sarcastic. Uncle Jim is going to be sarcastic. And he's going to be, people and things are going to be the way they are, not the way I want them to be. So then, rather than doing those shoulds and those expectations which come crumbling down and then bring that anger up, we can go, all right, what am I going to do when Uncle Jim starts to be sarcastic? How am I not going to get into it with him? And then we can go, okay, that's what Uncle Jim's going to do. But I'm not going to go there. I'm going to just let his barbs go by and stick with looking at the good. So it's not a time to confront just because we're all together, to confront people about their stuff. It's really about, again, keeping focused on this is about the sacredness of the holiday. This is about Thanksgiving. And so look for the good in Uncle Jim and really focus on that.
That's great. I want to bring up a point of my wife does listen to the Aging Boomer, so I'm going to hear from her on this one. But I think of her, I always say to her, why do you always have to say yes? Well, why, sometimes you have to say no, and then because she many times adds more stress saying yes to everything. Give us some thoughts on that.
Well, it's an old habit, and we can go back to the roots of wanting everybody to like us or to have a good time, but we really can sacrifice staying balanced by continually saying yes. And again, for me, it's about taking that pause, taking a few deep breaths, or maybe shaking and shivering out some of the fear, and really looking within. Take that breath and just go, all right, do I need to say yes to this? Was that really what feels right? It's like a feeling. And rather than going on autopilot, go by that feeling, and it's like, no, I can't host that party this year. Or if I do, it's like, I need somebody to help me out. I'm not willing to do it all by myself. Because, again, we're going to be getting away from joy, love, and peace if we take on too much. So, again, it's checking things through with our intuition and saying yes or no from that place. And then once we get, I need to turn down this invitation, then we can keep remembering, that's what I knew when I was clear, when I was centered. And then we don't have to start to double think ourselves, but I should go and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, I know that I'm getting cold symptoms, and it's not good for me to go out tonight. And then don't push. Really honor yourself so you can make it through the whole holidays with that right spirit.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know that it seems like right after the first of the year is when you start seeing all the commercials and advertisements about buying all the equipment, exercise equipment and all that, because everybody indulges so much over the holidays. Is that that's just the way it is? Or?
Well, I was listening to the radio. I was driving yesterday, and I heard the disc jockey just say that. Well, this is the season where we're going to gain 10 pounds and where we, drink too much and so on. And I go, oh my, that's not the spirit of the holidays. And we need to think of ourselves as like we're in training. And because we don't want to feel good, we don't want to feel bad after the holidays. Oh, those 7 pounds I gained and I didn't exercise at all for the last 2 weeks. We need to be in balance. And so we can say, I'm going to only have one cookie when there's a platter of cookies. Or I need to rest. I need to take a nap. So that we can do things to keep ourselves feeling good, so then we can appreciate all of the different events and not feel the regret of the excesses. We stayed in balance. We stayed true to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And what about, just overall, there's going to be, families visiting with parents, grandparents, etc. And in some cases, they're visiting them on a regular basis. But I would say in many cases, they're coming in town or to visit with them, and they haven't seen them in a while. And maybe when they see them during the holidays, they see a decline in what appears to be, let's say, a decline in their health and how they look, etc. What suggestions do you give to adult children, grandchildren, when they see that, and how to deal with that with a grandparent or parent?
Now, that's really a good point, because it goes back to the thing about that it's an emotional time of the year. And the emotion here where you're talking about seeing grandma and that she is in decline, it's sad. And it's all right to have a good cry. You don't necessarily cry and wail in front of her. But when you go back home or leave them off at wherever they're staying, you can take that little bit of time and acknowledge the transitioning. And if you allow yourself to cry, to have a good cry and cry about how much you love them and how sad you are to see that they aren't in the health or their memory is not as good or whatever, that you can be more present. You can feel more joy and more acceptance because you've honored that you do feel emotions and you've expressed them. You've honored them rather than stifle them and then start to get nervous and throw in hints and so on. Because that would be the other thing, is that sometimes rather than, saying, boy, you're not what you used to be, or whispering with other people, we can go direct to that person, in a safe place and ask them about how do they feel, not that superficial how do you feel, but how is it for you on a daily level? And just listening without judgment, that elderly people really need that space to be heard.
Right. Oh, that's a great point. It's a tough time for many. I know that being in the business and helping seniors probably, and it's pretty consistent. After holidays, our phone rings off the hook. Only because the adult children call, and I haven't seen mom in a while, and I was just shocked. She's going to need more help, etc. So it's a tough time, for many. So
absolutely, and it can be sadness, and there can also be fear that oh my gosh, now I need to find a different living situation, and that's going to be a financial burden, and so on. So again, we need to shake and shiver out that fear energy, so we can stay in the present and deal with just that one thing. All right, I need to call and figure out what my options are because Mom is not as sharp as she was. I don't know about leaving her at home. Right. And so we just need to take care of our own emotions because it wipes the slate clean. And then we can act graciously and discuss things in a way that are non-confrontative and done with love. Because, again, it's about love. It's about sharing. It's about giving.
Yeah. So I know that we discussed quite a bit. What do we miss in our discussion here? Anything at all that you'd like to share with our listeners? I know that you've got a number of tips for people in dealing, with the holidays, and hopefully make it as you say, a saner holiday. But any thoughts there? Anything that you'd like to add that maybe we didn't touch upon?
Yes, absolutely. And that is, again, it's a time where we want our heart to be open. And so one of the best ways to do that is to give appreciations. And so that can be verbally, but we can also, when we're making that list of what am I going to get for whom, we can I'll make a video and tape and say 10 things that I appreciate about my mother, and make a little video or write a little poem expressing our love and our thanks, or making a handmade card. It doesn't have to be money. It's again taking that pause, making a list of who we want to give some token to, and then looking within our heart and go, well, maybe I'll offer them a night on the town. It doesn't have to be a physical present. So it could be, just asking, what can I do and how can I help? And just ways that we can give, like putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. Like, what would that person really like? What can I do? And, maybe it's not interrupting them. Maybe it's just I'm going to listen more and make a little card and talk about listening and how you really want to be there and give that space to them that you want to listen. It doesn't have to be tangible of material, because it's about gift giving. It's about love. It's not about money. Right.
Just be sitting there holding their hand and listening.
Absolutely.
That could be the greatest gift to them. So we have a couple minutes left, Jude. I know we brought up your book, Attitude Reconstruction. You'd like to give a quick overview and how people could learn more on getting your book and learning more about what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. Well, Attitude Reconstruction is based on the idea that unexpressed sadness, anger, and fear, and we've talked about this, the fear and the sadness today, are behind all of our bad attitudes. And that if we want to shift those destructive ways, those antsy ways that the fear manifests, or those angry ways that with our judgments and shoulds, and that sadness, that going toward depression, that if we move the energy out of the body and physically, because as I said, emotions are just emotions, energy in motion, that rather than stifling them and tightening up and holding it in, we express those. We find a safe place and have that good cry or shake and shiver for a minute or stomp around, that then we can make changes real easily. because we've honored the emotional body, and emotions are underneath all of those bad problems, all of those ways that we've developed to compensate for not handling our emotions. So really the book just gives very practical suggestions about how to deal with the emotions, how to change your thoughts, and so that you can replace those insidious thoughts, how to communicate in a loving and effective way, and how to take action so that we can actualize what our potential is. So it's a very practical book, and it's available as an ebook as well. Makes a great gift, both for yourself or for other people.
Right, and they could go to www.attitudereconstruction.com for
yes,
that information.
Or it's also available at Amazon, or it can be ordered through a local bookstore.
Great. Well, Jude, thank you so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers again, and wishing you and your family a happy and healthy holiday. And we look forward to having you on a future show. We're glad you came back.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's all about joy, love, and peace. This is the time.
Great.
So
well,
you can do something about that. You can create those emotions. You don't have to wait for them.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank everybody out there for all your support and listening to the shows on the Aging Boomers and everything that we're trying to accomplish in educating people out there on what we know as an aging population. And for those of you that don't know, you can certainly get the shows on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, a site called Boomian, Spreaker, Stitcher. You could all sorts of online stations, as well as you could go to agingboomers.com or download the free app on your iPhone or Android phone. Thanks to Jude Bijou again, and I want everybody to be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks so much for joining us.